Hello and welcome to the slightly misaligned cheap wine review show, aka the internet's cheapest wine show. I'm your host, Andrew Tracy, and this is the Light Drizzle Show. We're going to be bringing a little bit of light drizzle today with some South Australian Shiraz 2006 from Blass. It's one of the oldest Australian Shiraz makers. About $10. Picked it up at my local liquor store as I do with all my wines, and let's give it a try and see what's going on here. Very dark, nearly black, very dark purple. Very dark color. Give it a little smell. Fruity. Fruity tooty. Strawberries and a little bit of cherry cough syrup. Nice bouquet. I should say nose. Bouquet is it's a wine snob term, and it just means how the wine smells, the various aromas that make up the smell. Usually, bouquet is normally used with a wine that has a very complex nose. That is, there's lots of different smells going there. Usually, it's only used with higher end wines. Otherwise, you would just call it the nose. So it does have a nice little nose though, and there's several different things going on there. Nothing boring about that at all. Black cherries, maybe? Berries? Fruity. A little bit of medicinal smell to it, just a little bit, not a lot. A little bit of petrol smell. But overall, more than anything, just cherries. Very nice. And Shirazes are known for being fruity. Australian Shirazes, especially. Oh, by the way, Shiraz and Syrah. All right, let me explain something real quick. Shiraz is a type of wine that is made from the Syrah grape, Syrah. Not the same thing as Petite Syrah at all. Totally different. And Syrah, Sirah, is sometimes short for Petite Syrah, which is not the same at all, not even similar to the actual Syrah, Syrah grape. All right, and Shiraz is the Australian version of a wine made from Syrah. All right, so if it says Shiraz on it, as this does, it is 100% Syrah grapes. Sometimes you'll even see wines from other countries besides Australia labeled as Shiraz, specifically California. The reason they do this, and you'll also see Californian wines that are labeled Syrah, the reason they do this is because if it says Shiraz on it, even if it's not from Australia, it's made in the Australian style. All right, so Shiraz means a Australian style wine made entirely with Syrah grapes. All right. Otherwise, if it's a wine that's just made however with Syrah grapes, it'll just say Syrah on it. All right. So Shiraz means Syrah, but it's a term. Shiraz is the Australian term for the Syrah grape. All right. So if it says Shiraz, normally it'll be from Australia. However, sometimes it could be from California. It could possibly be from somewhere else. And if it still says Shiraz on it, that just means it's made in the Australian style. Anyway, moving on. Let's give it a little snort. Okay. Okay. Initially you get a sort of a sweet fruit taste to it, and I'm gonna actually say it's maybe a little bit that initial taste. It's I can almost want to say cherry cough syrup. Hang on, I could be wrong. Mm. Sweet cherry candy, and I can taste the oak. It's not over oaked. I'm pretty sure this was oaked. doesn't say, but the Australian Shirazes are almost always put in American oak for yep, yeah, 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 it was oaked. Um, anyway, what's the alcohol content on this? Because there is a bit of heat on the end, definitely 13.5. Um, too much acidity. Too much acidity on the back end. Initially, you get a little bit of sweet cherry and vanilla flavors, and and then you get the tannins. The tannins hit, and then boom, acidity. Way too sour at the back end. This wine is definitely a little bit unbalanced. Um, smells nice. Smells like cherries. It's a very fruity wine. Got a good bit of heat on the back end. Definitely got some tannins going on there, and it's hot. It's hot. The alcohol comes through too strongly. The tannins are okay. It's not overly tannic, but there is a good bit of tannin there, and yeah, a lot of sourness on the back end. A bit too acidic. I'm gonna give this wine like an 83. If I just had to pull a number out of my ass. Um, it's not a bad wine, but it definitely doesn't blow me away. It's fruity and it's a little bit too acidic. Mm. Too acidic, too hot. Mm. Sweet cherries and like maraschino cherries initially, and then that shortly gets blown away by the acidity and the alcohol at the back end. That just kills it, and a little bit of lemony lime flavor on the end. That's actually kind of nice. The finish is nice, um, and that's that acidity on the back end coming through after the heat is gone. Then you still got a little bit of the residual acidity there that gives you sort of that and the cherry flavor of it, kind of excuse me, gives you a that plus the acidity you get sour, sort of sour sweet sour fruitiness at the end. It's I would describe as sort of a excuse me a sweet sweet lime type of flavor. It's quite nice. Maybe sour cherry, something like that. Um, it's not a bad wine at all, but doesn't blow me away. $10. It's not bad. You could pair this up with some barbecue, and it would probably be a lot better if it had something to go with. I wouldn't actually, you know what? I wouldn't go too heavy on that. Maybe not barbecue because there's just not quite enough tan in there. I wouldn't pair it with a steak. It's too fruity for that, and there's not enough tannin. Um, it's not under tannic. I mean, just if I'm describing the wine in general, but it's not tannic enough for something heavy like a steak. Um, yeah, it's not bad. Um, you decide if you want to spend $10 on it. It's a good example of a Shiraz. If you wanna experiment and find out what an Australian Shiraz tastes like, Wolf Blass is one of the very very large Australian Shiraz producers, one of the biggest ones in Australia, if not the biggest. Probably Yellowtail is. Um, but this is a nice little example of an Australian Shiraz. I give it an 83. It's mediocre. It's $10. That's probably about right for it. Not bad, not great. Meh. 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 It's South Australia, 2006 Shiraz, Wolf Blass, Yellow Label. A classic wine of great character and distinction from South Australia. I wouldn't go that far. But there you go. That's it.